Hi everyone, it's Anya Orga here with another video. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I am changing up my space a little bit. What you're looking at here is basically my workspace. I do, well, just about everything here actually. I do the majority of work in my PhD, if I'm honest. I do have a desk in an office in college, but I don't use it as much as I should, in all honesty. We're supposed to use it 20 hours a week and I definitely don't. But this is where I do probably most of my work because I work well alone at home. This is where I edit videos, this is where I write, this is where I do pretty much everything. And also where I kind of will watch movies and play video games and stuff as well, or computer games more like. And I have been working on creating a better morning routine for myself recently because I've found myself wanting to have a more kind of relaxed morning. I have had a morning routine of some kind for many years now. I think ever since I started back my spiritual path and decided that I wanted to have some sort of morning practice. I have had some kind of morning routine that involves like meditation, sitting at the altar, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes. But in the past kind of couple of years, 5 years or so, I was quite focused on getting up and out and to work or being productive early on in the day. And I noticed that kind of rushing around and trying to get myself into college or out to wherever I'm going kind of early on in the day, when I have the freedom to kind of choose whenever I want to start, actually kind of makes me feel unnecessarily stressed out. And I have been working on, well, first of all, I've been getting up earlier in the morning and I've been working on just trying to ease myself into the day and do a few things early on in the day that are kind of, I don't know, that feel like they're going to enrich me as a person, whether it's kind of spiritually related or not. Part of this is because November has been a really tough month, and I've been meaning to, well, I've been working on this all the way through November really, and I've been meaning to make a couple of new changes into my routine too, which I'll explain in a minute. November is a tough month for me. You'll have noticed that I didn't make many videos in November. I didn't make many in October because I was so busy. In November, I was supposedly going to be a little bit freer, but my mental health just suffers in November. I think it's just the dark, like when we're facing into winter and the dark is really starting to close in. I don't think I deal very well with that, especially since I moved to Scotland, where the afternoons are a whole hour shorter at midwinter than they are in Dublin, and in Dublin it's dark enough, let me tell you. Yeah, because we're so far east and so far north, it's pretty grim, to be honest. So I have had kind of an extra reason, apart from just all the work that I've been trying to do to get back into the flow of my spiritual practice and my spirituality in general and feeling like a spiritual person in the last couple of years. I also am just dealing with the repercussions of November, facing into December now, thinking, right, okay, time onwards and upwards, time to kind of put that behind and try and improve a couple of things, like I say, to do with maybe my routine and stuff like that. So that was a very long and rambly way to say that what I'm going to be doing is the birthday cards that you see on the table on the right hand side here. I've had them up for a whole month. I kind of felt like I normally wouldn't leave them up for a month, but because it was my 30th birthday, I kind of felt like just leaving them there for the full month. So I'm going to take them down now, and because I don't really use that table when I'm eating dinner, I'm either eating at the computer, like at the screen watching something, because I do tend to watch something while I eat, or I'm sitting on the couch. And I basically never use the table on the right unless I have visitors. So what I've decided is I want to set up a space where the cards, exactly where the cards are, that is going to house books and journals that I will be able to reach to, that I'll be able to easily access in the mornings when I come in, when I get up and come in and I'm kind of waking myself up enough to kind of go out and go for a run or go for a walk or go into college or whatever, like while I'm kind of eating something and just waking up. Maybe before I do my meditation, because I prefer to wake up a little bit before I do my morning meditation. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing now, and I think I'm going to shut the camera off now, pull out the books and then show you the finished product, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been trying to integrate into my morning routine and what kind of effect that's been having. I mean, it's all quite new, to be honest. Like I meant to do this early in the month, and early last month, I mean, and it didn't really happen because I was just feeling a bit bleh. So yeah, I'll go away now and do that, and then I'll come back and show you the result and show you what books I've laid out and all that kind of thing. Okay, so these are the books that I've chosen to lay out for my morning reading, and I've just used an old book end just to prop them up against the wall. And I'm pretty happy with how it looks, actually. I'm pretty happy with my choices. So what I decided to go for was kind of a mixture of stuff. I've got maybe 3 books that are kind of, and actually now that I'm looking at it, I'm at like the kind of organizational freak in me, or the librarian in me maybe, wants to move the universe story back to beside Pagayan Cosmology, because I want them to be kind of organized according to the way that I think about them, and I kind of want to put the poetry books beside each other as well. But I've got 3 books that are kind of key texts for me in my kind of pantheistic paganism. So these are books that I've mentioned before on the channel. I made a video years ago called 5 Books That Influenced Me or something like that. I'll try and remember to link that somewhere on this video. And I think all 3 of these books were actually in that video. So it's Starhawk's The Spiral Dance, Glenys Livingston's Pagayan Cosmology, and Brian Swim and Thomas Berry, I think, The Universe Story. So those 3 books definitely had a huge impact on the shaping of my spiritual practice, and the first 2 in particular, The Spiral Dance and Pagayan Cosmology, pretty much shaped my practice, the way that it looks. The Spiral Dance is just an absolute classic. If you haven't read it, you definitely should. It's an absolute pagan classic. Pagayan Cosmology is very much influenced by Starhawk, and also influenced actually by The Universe Story. So it's kind of bringing together a kind of pantheistic, science-oriented perspective and merging that with the kind of goddess spirituality of Starhawk and paganism, and it's just wonderful. Reading that was a life-changing experience for me back in 2011, I think. So then The Universe Story I'll skip to now. It's the next blue book. That is, it's not specifically pagan at all. It's actually written by, I'm trying to think the 2 men, what exactly they do. One of them certainly is a physicist, and one of them is a theologian and a minister. And I think they might both have backgrounds in physics as well. And it's essentially, it's definitely not a very Christocentric perspective, and it's very pantheistic. It's very readable. You definitely don't need a background in science to understand it. But it's just so inspiring, and it's really written with the aim of inspiring awe in cosmos. And yeah, it's a wonderful book. Then to the left of that, I've got Godless Paganism, which is a collection edited by John Halstead of The Allergic Pagan. And he edited together a bunch of, I think a lot of them are blog posts that he kind of found and that he particularly liked. I think some of them might have been written specifically for the book as well, but it's just all people that he found that he knows online from the pagan community, and it's specifically pagans who are atheistic, non-theistic, pantheistic, or have sort of non-literal perspectives on deity, who are, essentially kind of scientific naturalists, or you get the gist of it. So a couple of my essays are in there, and it's a really great collection. I haven't actually gone through all of it. Then I've got a collection of poetry by Mary Oliver, again something I haven't read cover to cover but that I've dipped in and out of. And then I've got another poetry book further down the line by Swinburne, poems by Swinburne, and I've been very inspired by some of his poetry and romantic poetry in general, but then to double back, I've got Becoming Animal by David Abram. So that's, again, not a specifically pagan or even spiritual book, but it's a very much contemporary animism, and it's just wonderful. It's just he's very much an author who makes you think about your experience of day-to-day life in a different way, and very much discussing environmental issues and stuff like that. So that's a wonderful book. Again, I've read that cover to cover, and it's something that I could easily see myself dipping in and out of. Then there's the Revenge of Gaia by, I think it's Joseph Lovelock anyway. I'm not sure if I think this is the original text in which he put forward the Gaia hypothesis, which is not generally accepted, scientifically accepted. It's this idea that seeing the Earth as an organism, and I think parts of it parts of it are just seen as being not quite correct or whatever, but it's still the overall mentality and the overall concept, I think, has been just very inspirational for pantheists and just people in general who want to look at the Earth and cosmos from a more kind of holistic, monistic, pantheistic perspective. So I haven't read that at all yet, but I definitely want to dip into that. And then finally, there's Women Who Run with the Wolves. This is another book that I've read cover to cover and that I really enjoyed when I read it. It's a very atmospheric book, and I don't necessarily agree with all of it. There's quite a lot of kind of gender essentialism in there when it comes to her attitudes towards women and men and all of that, but I find that if I just pass over that and don't let it bother me, it's incredibly inspirational, and it really gets me into a mindset of being very spiritual, but also wanting to create and wanting to express, and that's something that's very important to me in my spirituality. So yeah, and at the very beginning on the far left, that's my journal. Okay, so those are the books that I have decided to leave there to hand, and what I'm kind of hoping for is that, so what I found myself doing in the morning is doing very kind of passive, unwinding, kind of chill out activities that aren't necessarily in any way productive, or, I find myself watching just silly TV shows, comfort watching, YouTube videos that I haven't like kind of consciously chosen or anything. Just easy watching is what I have found myself doing, like slipping into a habit of doing in the mornings, as a way of kind of starting the day with something that I would find enjoyable and that would ease me into the day. And I just thought to myself, I'm sure if I get into the habit of doing something a little bit more conscious, and that's going to be a little bit more enriching in the morning, that it will seem as easy. I want something that will be easy to do, that won't feel like a big chore, but that then will kind of set me up for the day feeling relaxed and feeling centered, but also feeling like I've done something that's going to have done me some good, if that makes sense. And I want to start off the day. Basically, I also have been really wanting to re-immerse myself into the kind of discourse that enriches me, into the kind of discourse that I consciously entered into when I kind of returned to my spirituality, when I returned to paganism and pantheism. How many years ago was it now? 7 years ago. I feel like ever since I moved to Edinburgh and started studying religious studies, ironically, as I've said again and again on the channel, I have actually kind of had less and less time to be immersed in that discourse, to be listening to people talk about that kind of stuff and reading those kind of books, because I've been reading academic books and religious studies, kind of social science type perspectives on religion, rather than reading kind of experiential kind of reports on religion. And I'm really missing that kind of immersion that I had. So there's a couple of things that I'm planning on doing. First of all, like I say, the books that I've showed you, I am going to have them there. They're all the kinds of books that I can easily just dip into. They're, I think, pretty much all of them. Any of them, okay, not all of them. Most of them that are book form, I've read cover to cover. The poetry I probably or definitely haven't read all of, but I've dipped in and out of. And Godless Paganism as well. I haven't actually necessarily read the whole thing to cover, but I have read some of. So it's all material that I'm familiar with, basically. So the kind of book form, kind of like the kind of thing that you would normally read cover to cover, it is familiar to me, so it's going to be easy for me to pick up the book and just find something that I want to read out of it. And then, like I say, there's poetry and there's like the collection of essays. So again, there are things that are easy just to pick up, read a couple of poems, read a couple of essays, or just one essay. And if I'm really feeling a lot of resistance to keeping up this practice, I can just say to myself, one poem, at least read one poem, or just one short essay, or just one page from one of these books. So that's kind of part one of what I'm hoping to incorporate and that I haven't actually incorporated yet. The reason I'm putting the books where they are, and my journal, which I'll get to in a second, the reason I'm putting them where they are is because they've only been on the other side of the room. They've been on the other side of my altar, but I haven't been reaching for them. So I wanted to put them there where I can see them, where they're just looking at me and just asking me to kind of reach out and pick them up. Then I've got my journal there, and I want to get back into the habit of journaling daily. I try to incorporate a kind of daily pages type concept, which I think is from The Artist's Way, which is a book I own but haven't actually read. And in that kind of, within that concept, you write 3 pages a day. So I kind of want to remove the pressure to write 3 pages, I think, and just, let's say, write something, like just a couple of lines even every day, and like not even have the pressure that I have to do it every day, but it's something that would be nice to do. So that I might read something and then maybe write, and either write my response to what I've read or just something that's going on with me. It doesn't have to be exactly spiritually related, just anything that I want to write about, just to keep myself in hand of being in touch with where I'm at and just expressing that, and maybe trying to formulate that in a kind of, in relation to my spirituality. And then the third thing is something that I've already started doing, and I really want to build in more possibilities into this. I've been wanting to, because in the very, very, very first thing that I do when I sit down after waking up in the morning, realistically, I'm not going to reach for a book. I'm a bit too sleepy, I'm a bit too blah, and watching something passively is easier for the first kind of 10-15 minutes while I eat or whatever. Because usually I eat something small before I exercise, and then I eat more when I get back from my run or whatever. And what I've been doing is I've been watching documentaries, nature documentaries. So I've been watching Planet Earth. I have been looking up other things that I can watch in this time. Mostly so far I've just been watching Attenborough's Planet Earth, but there are lots of other documentaries that I have seen before that I would like to maybe watch again, and I really want to watch Cosmos all the way through because I haven't seen all of that. And yeah, if you have any recommendations actually for, I would say maybe podcasts too, but I actually prefer having a visual at this time of the day, because when I'm just sitting at the computer, like I like listening to podcasts and stuff while I'm doing housework, but I prefer to have something to actually watch first thing in the morning. Yeah, if you have any suggestions, things that I can add to my list, then that would be fantastic. So things that I can kind of reach for easily. So that's what I'm kind of aiming for. I've like accepted the fact that when I sit down in the morning and eat, I want to be watching something. It kind of wakes me up and just gives me something to do. And if I can make that be something that's going to just tap me back into my sense of my pantheism and be kind of meaningful in some way, and just give me strike up a sense of awe in me, a sense of wonder, a sense of connectedness to nature, like that would be wonderful. And that's what I'm kind of aiming for. So yeah, I'll be doing that, then I'll be doing a little bit of reading, and then I'll be doing a little bit of journaling, and then at that point will be hopefully when I sit down to do my daily meditation practice, which I have been doing pretty steadily now for the last 3 weeks. I have been meditating every single day, usually every single morning, for 10 to 20 minutes. I'm kind of doing 20 minutes now. So yeah, I just thought I would share that, because I've been realizing recently that sometimes rather than making a big drastic change in your routine, it's easier to make kind of small, more minor changes, and to find something in your day that you are sort of automatically doing, and rather than just trying to cut that out and feeling really negative and guilty about it, instead to see the positive potential in it and maybe tweak it then to make it into something a little bit more kind of productive. And like over time, I would love to get to a point where I'm not really spending maybe even any time watching a TV show first thing in the morning. That maybe, I mean, it's a little bit difficult to, I mean, I could read while I eat. It might be a little bit difficult because it might be a bit messy, but I would prefer to be spending more time doing more proactive things. I would love to be maybe drawing or doing art first thing in the morning, something like that, or creative writing. But I'm not trying to set up a big goal like that for me right now. Like, I'm kind of trying to add to my morning routine just bit by bit until I get to a point where I feel comfortable with it, and where it's a good balance between allowing myself to have something easy and nice and enjoyable first thing in the morning, and having it be something that is actually going to benefit me in the long run and benefit me for the whole day. The same with my altar routine. I've incorporated a 5-minute kind of mantra prayer thing with my prayer beads into the beginning of my meditation, and then I'm hoping to incorporate maybe drawing a tarot card into that too, but it's like bit by bit. I'm doing it just piece by piece. I'm not really expecting to ever spend, say, a full hour at my altar in the morning or anything, but as much as I can fit in, and I just have to see how I go, see how much time I really want to spend doing all this kind of stuff in the mornings, and at what point I want to kind of cut it off and actually get to work. But yeah, I hope that was in some way helpful for you. It might not be that helpful for you if you don't have a flexible routine and if you just kind of have to get up and go. But I mean, it's always worth considering as well whether it's worth getting up a little bit earlier in the morning if you think that you're going to be able to get yourself to bed earlier at night, if you feel like you're wasting time at night, and you might be better off just like giving yourself a slightly earlier bedtime and getting up earlier so that you can work this kind of routine into your day. I have to say, like, my mental health hasn't been brilliant this month, but I definitely think it's better than it would have been before, when I used to be kind of forcing myself out the door as quickly as I possibly could. Like, I used to be kind of saying, right, I'm going to give myself like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes to get up and out in the morning, and I have to be into college by like 9 o'clock or whatever, or 8:30 or whatever time that I was kind of trying to get myself, or earlier even at some points, trying to get myself in and like started work. And I think it depends on the person, depends on where you're at. Sometimes that's really positive for me to start work at like 8 a.m. and like get to 12 o'clock and I've already done like a good chunk of work, and then feel like I've kind of got the whole day to do other things. That's something that I might go back to at some point, but like right now, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm liking, and I find that it's best for me to have that time in the morning, to kind of give myself that time in the morning, rather than trying to fit it in later on in the day. I think I have this theory about myself that I'm the kind of person who needs to work first and then play. And when I say play, I mean kind of do all the other things in my life that I want to do that aren't my PhD or my 9 to 5. And in theory, I love the idea, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get up early and start work really early and get everything done, and then I can do whatever I want. In practice, it doesn't work that way. So yeah, I prefer to give myself that time in the morning. That's what's working for me right now. And it just makes more sense to me where I'm at right now in my head and in my life. And I think making that non-negotiable by having it like worked into my morning routine is like, afternoon, evening routines are too, like, they're too available to other people to disrupt, basically. Like, if I get invited to do something, if there's something going on in the evening, if like I just come home later than I was expecting, if I'm just too tired when I get in after a full day, it's too easy to just let those habits slide. So yeah, and also it just kind of sets me up for the day as well. I think I'm hoping that the more of this that I incorporate into my morning routine, the more I'm going to change my mentality and go into my work day with a kind of different mindset, with basically a sacralized mindset, rather than just being stuck in this very kind of mundane social science kind of frame of mind. So yeah, I hope that was helpful for you, and no matter kind of what lifestyle you have, that you might think about what ways you can incorporate this, what little tweaks you can make with your routines and maybe your morning routine. Like, is there anything that you can quite easily just switch out of your routine and just say, you know, like I said, the first thing that I did, instead of watching Gilmore Girls every morning, which frankly, it's like a guilty pleasure of mine, and I love it, it's comfort watching, but also there's like so much rampant racism and homophobia and fat shaming and stuff in that show that like it also kind of makes me angry. So, you know, it's like that kind of mindless TV watching isn't always the best thing to be setting up my day with. So yeah, and like switching that out for something like watching a nature documentary, you know, it might not be perfect, but for me, it's a positive switch. So yeah, I hope that's been inspiring in some way for you, and I hope that if you also struggle with November, that period is now kind of over for you. I find with the kind of holiday season coming in, with the solstice coming up, and Christmas coming up, and whatever else coming up, for me, it's December is a more positive month. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of this month. I'm feeling like now that I've got this set up, it's going to be easier to reach for. So yeah, I will talk to you soon, I hope, and take care of yourselves.